This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'd like to be joined by British super welterweight John Brennan this evening. John, first and foremost, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Now, this is the first time we've had you on, I believe. I thought we could just talk a bit about your career and your time as a pro. You've been a pro for over 10 years now, so we'll start there. What was it that actually got you into boxing in the first place, John?
So I got into boxing by chance, really. What it was is I was knocking around the estate with a few of the local lads, and I weren't really doing much. I didn't have much direction, so I was a bit unruly. And there was a guy that used to box some lads down there called Terry Tier. His son Tommy was a boxer, and we had a mutual liking at West Ham. And he said to me, he said to a bunch of us actually, "You've got a bit of a jack, the lads. I'll take you down the gym, and we'll see what you're about," sort of thing. And I just took it as a pinch of salt. He actually come through and said, "Look, come on, I want to take you down the gym." So we all went down there in the back of his Transit, and he chucked us in for sparring straight away. And he must have told the local lads down there. It was at Marlow. He told the local lads, like, give them a bit of a look at. And we've had a bit of a spar. It was harder than what you expect. You know, like when you're younger, you just think, it's throwing shots, and it's a lot more class to it and a lot more craft. And when we got a bit of a whip wop, I thought, I ain't having that. I want to go back. I can't be having that. It's sort of, and then I just carried on. Most of the other boys dropped out, and I just carried on, and that was it. I had the bug then. I couldn't get rid of it.
That's something fighters always talk about, getting the bug. You said you had it there straight away. How old were you at the time when this all happened, and what was it specifically?
I was about 14, coming on 15.
And what do you think?
I would have been.
That appealed to you about it?
Sorry, say that again.
What do you think it was that appealed to you about boxing? What do you think gave you that bug?
It was I thought it would have been the violence, because I've always been involved in scraps, and I've always had a bit of a taste for anarchy and violence. But in fairness, it was the craft. It was the foot movement and the slipping of the shots, and it was the poetry of watching the boxers dip in and out, especially in the amateurs. It was like fencing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought, bloody hell, this ain't brutal. This is actually, this is something else.
Now, in terms of your pro journey, like I said, you've been pro over a decade, but how quickly after you'd caught that bug and you're in there learning your craft, did you think, I want to make something out of this? I want to have a run at the professional game eventually. When did that come about?
So when I was amateur, I never really set myself any targets or any. I just sort of went with it because I was just riding the wave. I was amateur. I was a junior. Then I had some time away where I was I was messing around on the estate again. Then I come back to the seniors at Dale Youth. I went to Dale, and then the bug really got me. Like, it got hold of me hard, and that's when I thought, like, I wanted to win a national title, and then I wanted to go in the ABAs, and I just sort of set myself benchmarks in small stages, really.
Now, you said it there with you. You were in and out of the gym. You were back on the estate at times and stuff like that. When you reflect on your experience with boxing, how important can boxing be for those kids that are out there perhaps lacking a bit of direction or a bit of discipline and something to do?
It's massive. I think about the times we're in now, unprecedented times where people can't go and train down these gyms and people can't go and do the amateur scene. Some of these kids have got nothing at home. They ain't got a good family life. They haven't really got any solace. You go down the gym and you hear that bell ring and everything goes away. You hit the bags, everything goes away. Your troubles are gone for that 90 minutes or 2 hours you're there. I just can't. And my heart goes out to some of these lads that ain't really got much going on at the moment, because I know it's going to ruin a lot of futures. Imagine some of them boys, that the progress they would have made in this long time. But for me, luckily for me, it done me a lot of favours. I got into a lot of trouble prior to going into the seniors. Got into a lot of trouble. Some things I'm not proud of, but coming back and getting out, what that did was I wouldn't change it because it made me a better person. So I had a long time to think about what I needed to do with my life. And when I come out, I stuck to it religiously, and I kept to my boxing, and it kept me away from some of the little whispers in my ear roll.
Now, from there, John, since you did turn professional and you stayed on track there, you've competed for titles, you've fought some great domestic fighters along the way as well. I'm intrigued to know, though, who is the best fighter, in your opinion, that you shared a ring with? You've been in there with Glenn Foote, who's a very good fighter, a senior Byfield.
Yeah.
Who's the best and why?
So look, with Glenn Foote, I didn't really think that he had a flash fast right hand, but I didn't think his power was much cop, and he was mechanically not very big at the weight. I thought he was a lot shorter than me, and I kept him on the end of the jab quite well. I'd say probably the best fighter the most awkward fighter without a doubt is a senior Byfield. We become quite pally now. Like, we speak quite a bit, and yeah, we're on good terms. And I say it no without any like sort of taking my pride into consideration. He was definitely the most awkward. He was hard to peg down. I wouldn't say he was the biggest banger, but he was definitely, his foot movement was good. He was elusive, and he was quite sharp. So yeah, I'd probably go with Asinia.
Now, John, something I have to ask you about. The last time you were in a professional boxing ring, this will come as a big surprise to people watching this, was in Tanzania back in October.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience. How did that come about?
Well, basically, because I just paid out for my license and stuff, and they said they'd give me they'd give me an extension on it for the time that I'd missed. But I need to fight. I need to fight. I'm bred to fight. It's in me. So when I'm not boxing, when I haven't got a pot of gold at the end of one of these rainbows, I start getting finicky. I start getting edgy. I just get anxious. I need to box. I need to fight. And I've been pestering Dell. Dell's got massive links on the continent. Derek Waddle, my manager, he's got loads of links on the continent. Who he don't know abroad, it ain't worth knowing. He's really well connected. And I said to him, look, Dell, there must be somewhere you can get me on. There must be somewhere I can go, get a fight. I don't care the opponent. I don't care the surroundings. Please get me on. And then he come back with Tanzania. We had a load of information that turned out to be false, but, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, we went out there and it was an adventure.
What was it like on the night at the venue? I'm always intrigued to hear about these unique little places that not a lot of fighters or fans will ever get to see. Try and tell us a bit what it was like on fight night.
To be brutally honest, it was terrible. It was in the middle of so they told us it was going to be the National Stadium, and my weigh-in's at the National Hotel. I've rocked up to the National Hotel. I'm weight trained. I've been on a 15-hour flight. I've had transfers from Doha. I'm starving, hungry, starving. I've weighed in spot on. I'm always professional. I've never took the mickey out of boxing. I've weighed in spot on. The scales, there's two sets of scales. They're both reading wrong. They're terrible. And I'm sitting there thinking, I couldn't eat a thing on the plane. So, and I thought to myself, I could have just had a little nibble and give myself a bit of respite. But yeah, the weighing was shambolic. They told us that the fight was going to be in a field round the back of the hotel. And they showed me the alley. I walked through the alley. It was like urine ridden and disgusting. And I've gone through and he said, it's round here. But the night before, Tanzania is very, very hot and cold. So when it's raining, it lashes and it comes down. So when we got out there, I said, we can't have a show on here. Surely, like, it was waterlogged, like good 4 inches of water all the way across there. And I'm thinking, nah, this can't happen. And the guy, the guy from the Tanzanian pugilistic syndicate said, Emmanuel, his name was, he said, no, don't worry, it will be all right. Trust me, it'll be all right. And I thought, you're wishful thinking, pal. And true to form, next day, the sun was out. It's soaked up most of the moisture and a lot of it have evaporated. And then we've gone to the National Hotel. I can't say I was replenished because the food out there was grim. It was disgusting. I didn't eat well at all the whole time I was there. Well, just to put it into perspective, usually, if I weigh in at 11 stone, I'll jump to 11.8 easy when I replenish. I was thinking maybe I'll go out to 11.10 and I'll be nice, bodily strong, and I'll bully him a bit. I got on the whales afterwards and I was 11.3, flicking 11.4. I thought, I was scratching my head thinking, how have I only put on 3 to 4 pounds? I could go for a run now and lose that. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, nonetheless, I went and had the fight and yeah, that's all she wrote.
Is it something you would consider doing again?
Do you know what? Funny you say that. I've just been offered an opportunity to box in Ghana for, same sort of thing. Try and get myself a quick win, get my ranking up, lead to another opportunity. We've been lobbying very heavily with Debbie Downs at the Commonwealth Council. She said she'd put me in for the vacant, but I need to get a couple of wins in the meantime. Going over to Ghana after what I've experienced. Don't really appeal to me, to be honest. I've got to have more chats with my manager, and I'm not going to disrespect him by telling you anything here that I wouldn't say with Dell that we're going to have a conversation about. But yeah, I'd say I'm reluctant is being truthful.
What would you want next? I'd heard there's possibility of you maybe going to Spain or something like that as well. What's
yeah. Well, so I was meant to fight on the 23rd of January in Murcia in Spain for the Celtic title. It was on a Leonard Gunning show. He's an Irish guy that does a lot of promotions in Spain. He predominantly promotes in Ireland, but due to the restrictions, he sort of pitched up camp in Spain. And I spoke to him a little bit, and he said that, yeah, we'd be more than happy to have you on. I said, I've got, I can cover all my overheads, and yeah, I'll come to fight. Don't worry about that. And he said, that's fine. All was perfect. But then obviously COVID kicked in again. That's put that to pay, where we've travel restrictions meant that, and also Mercy have cancelled all sporting events across the region. So yeah, that kiboshed that. And yes. But I spoke with Leonard. He's a sound guy. He said that he's more than happy to put me on again when he reschedules the show. He's hoping to reschedule in March, and yeah, and that was what I was looking at, really, going back for the Celtic, and due to my heritage, maybe going on to fight for the Irish title.
Oh, it sounds like you have got plans in place despite everything that's going on. This is a very difficult time for a lot of fighters, particularly those coming from the small hall scene. In terms of the last year or so for yourself and the difficulties boxing's been having in general, was there any time at all where you may be doubting whether to keep going, or did you always know you would be able to keep getting those dates?
Yeah, after the Tanzania fight, I had a very, very emotional roller coaster, because prior to that, it was nothing like I've ever boxed before, where, you know, if I got a weigh-in over here for titles or even on the day weigh-ins, I've only got to be that weight for that little 10 minutes I get on the scales. So I used to manage it really well. My body's really good to me. If I come up to close to the weigh-in and I think, oh, you know, I'm still a couple of pound here or there, there's something that kicks in that and it just, I managed to get it off. I've always managed to get it off, and I've always respect boxing. But this time I had to do a 15-hour flight over to there. I'm weight drained on the flight. It's like nothing that I've ever experienced before. And yeah, if I could turn back time, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it's an event nonetheless. And they say, what don't kill you make you stronger. So I've learned from it 100%.
Now, in terms of your division, John, I'm curious to know, away from training yourself and fighting, do you like to keep an eye on the things around you, different fights and stuff like that? Do you watch the boxing quite closely? Yeah, I do. I'm quite, what would you say, I'm a boxing scribe. I'm on Box Rec all the time. I'm seeing what shows are scheduled. I'm looking at results. I look at results from Argentina to Australia. I'll be checking up on the shows on live TV. I get boxing news quite regular, and I just go on like the media outlets, like Seconds Out, like Boxing Media. I like to keep up on top of it. It's an obsession of mine. I get a little bit obsessive, so this is just part of it. I go through habits that I just can't kick. Well, perfect. I'd like to ask you about a couple of things in your division before I let you go then, John. First one, Ted Cheeseman, Metcalfe, brilliant fight. The bookies can't split them, can you?
It's a difficult one. They're very similar fighters. If I'd have to go with one, smart money, I'd probably go Cheeseman, just because he's a little bit more tested. He's battle hardened at that level, whereas Metcalfe's still got, there's still questions he needs to answer, and it's whether he's going to answer them against Cheeseman or not.
There's a lot of brilliant domestic fights to be made at 154 right now. In your mind, who is the best in the country, though? Oh, who's the pick of the bunch? 154 domestically, I'd probably say Anthony Fowler. I quite like the look of him. He's strong. He'd whack a bit. He's got a fairly good chin, because no one's really dented him. I know Fitzgerald put him over, but it was sort of flash when he's changing footing. I quite like Anthony Fowler. Yeah, he's probably been my pick of the bunch. And John, before I let you go, we are coming towards the start of the boxing schedule in the UK. We are coming back. As a boxing fan yourself, if you could see any fight this year, any fight at all, what would it be and why? Yeah, so I've never been one for the mainstream boxers or, your headliners. I'm not one for like a Canelo or one of them fighters like that. I quite like watching the Nao Inoue or Guillermo Rigondeaux. I want to see Guillermo come back and fight someone worthwhile, get a win, and then come back and fight someone worthwhile and win a decent title. So, yeah, I couldn't really say an opponent, but if I could say one fight I'd like to see was Rigondeaux come back and do well. All right, well, John, look, thank you for making your time after your training for Boxing Social. It's been great to have you on. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And have a nice evening, all right? Thank you. And you, Ryan. Thank you. Right, perfect.